All right, hello everybody. This is Double RPG here, and the road to E3 continues, where we at the Riff Table Arcade are delivering to you our 2 cents about the supposed leaks and giving our own predictions on the big three. And since this is our third week of doing this, today we are going to be talking about Nintendo. But before we move on any further, we have our two other guests or our two other co-hosts that are joining us here today, and they are 16-bit Jeff.
Hello, I'm here as always, and bring the news directly to you.
Thank you, Mr. Iwata. and over on the other corner is VenixKensai.
Hi, I'm just in my corner reading the news off of Iwata or Jeff's page. Yeah.
So you're no Reginator or Reggie Fizemec or whatever?
My body is ready.
Of course. So how are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
That's good. Yeah, I've been doing fine myself. I've been kind of coming down with the cold.
Ooh.
Yeah. But I've been drinking a lot of orange juice and taking a lot of zinc caplets. So hopefully that can help boost my immune system to where the cold doesn't last that much longer. Because I want to be perfectly healthy by the time E3 comes.
Oh yeah, you need all your senses for it.
Exactly. But for the most part, I've been doing okay today. For the most part,
Good.
but from everything else, I've been busy, and I've been kind of spending my off time playing some of my back catalog of DS games, and the one I'm currently playing again is Kirby Superstar Ultra.
Ooh, nice.
Oh.
Yeah. Out of this day, when playing all the games in the series, I still hold up and still stay true in saying that Kirby Superstar is probably my favorite Kirby game in the franchise.
Yeah, I liked the DS remake of the original.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry, the Game Boy Advance version that was.
Of Kirby's Adventure?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was not a bad game either. But it wasn't my cup of tea personally. I just liked some of the newer things that they featured in Superstar, like the more additional moves for the different power-ups and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And how you can block or guard against enemy attacks and that kind of stuff. So that actually made it easier to actually get an upper hand on fighting some of the tougher enemies. And I would say that alone actually is kind of the equivalent to Super Castlevania 4 when you could whip in all 8 directions.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that was my rendition of why I think that Kirby Superstar is my favorite in the series as much as Super Castlevania 4, because it had that one gameplay element that was not featured in the other games.
Mm-hmm.
That actually made it quite enjoyable.
That's understandable, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I'm just kind of been keeping cool until Watch Dogs and Mario Kart 8 comes out. So I just need something to keep me entertained.
Yep. My copy of Watch Dogs is on its way, but because there's a shipping center in the area, I'll probably be getting it tomorrow and probably won't turn it on until Tuesday.
Wait a minute, aren't you supposed to get mail on Monday though?
Well, thank you for ruining my hopes and my dreams there.
Well, I'm sorry, but mail doesn't come out on Sundays. Post office is closed.
Monday, fine.
Yeah.
Yes, got it.
Oh, UPS too.
Yeah.
But
I just cried on the inside.
Oh, sorry. Do you need a hug, buddy?
Jeff. Jeff, where did you go?
What you been up to?
Nothing much. As you guys know, I actually been playing a recently released game for my Xbox One. That was Wolfenstein New Order. From what I played so far, it's one of the best first-person shooters I played in a very, very long time. Machine Games is basically a developer that there's at least a developer that finally understands how to bridge the gap between an old-school shooter and a shooter of modern, aesthetics for a first-person shooter.
Oh, nice.
Like, basically, this game... this is the game that actually deserves the title of Wolfenstein, because I gotta admit, as much as I love Raven Software, the guys that did, Soldier of Fortune, way back in the day,
Yep.
their rendition of Wolfenstein, while it was good, it felt a little lackluster. Like, this is the sequel I wish that we got that was the sequel to Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
Uh-huh.
This is a game that exceeds Return to Castle Wolfenstein, which I really enjoy, and I've said before, I'm gonna say this again. This is an early contender for Game of the Year for me, because if you guys don't know, Machine Games, they are somewhat the successor to Starbreeze, which were the developers of both Escape from Bertram Bay, Chronicles of Riddick, and one of my personal favorite first-person shooters, and a beloved indie comic of mine, The Darkness.
Oh, nice.
Basically, think of it being a mixture of Wolfenstein meets The Darkness, the gameplay mechanics of The Darkness. It's a phenomenal game. The gameplay is great. The gunplay is phenomenal. The only thing I gotta say is the audio mixing on the guns itself feels off. Honestly, I'm glad that what Machine Games did was phenomenal, but if they want to feel like they have the authentic sound of a gun being shot, they need to take notes of what DICE does with their, gun mechanics for future games, sound-wise.
Right.
But besides that, that's the only complaint. And also, if there's one thing I gotta give credit for, Mick Gordon, who also did the composition for the recently revived Killer Instinct reboot for Microsoft, he did the composition for this game, and it is phenomenal. If you want to check it out, it's on both Spotify, and if you have an Xbox, it's also on Xbox Music to stream if you want to give a listen to.
Okay. And you mentioned Raven Software, and they made probably my favorite game that they ever created. That is X-Men Origins Wolverine Uncaged Edition.
Oh, yes.
Oh, God. Even though the movie was kind of okay, but at least the video game kicked tons of butt.
Oh, yeah.
But, and that's kind of a weird thing, too. There, some instances where some movies are not good, but their video game counterparts are actually pretty decent.
For example, I know a lot of people disliked... I remember hearing your review of Amazing Spider-Man. It's you didn't hate the game, but I can understand, the movie, but I can understand what your gripes were.
Mm-hmm.
I like the movie more, but in regards to the game, I don't get why people are getting so entitled saying it's the worst game that they played, both Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 from Beanox. Remember you said in the past that we gamers expect too much?
Yes.
These are tie-in games. They don't have that longevity of development that most games have.
Right.
But that doesn't mean these games are bad. Let's face facts. These games that begin to have tie-ins to, say, TV shows or movies, I'd rather take these in quality than the trash that we got 20 years ago when we were kids growing up. Those were god-awful.
Let's see. The one thing I can remember, Batman. Granted, Batman and Robin was a horrible game, or a horrible movie, but the game that came with it.
Batman Forever, Batman and Robin.
Hey! The Batman Forever arcade game was actually pretty decent.
No, I'm talking about the PlayStation version.
Oh, of course, but the arcade game was.
I never got a chance to play the arcade version. I only got a chance to play the PlayStation and Saturn conversion. But two other games that I really despise, they weren't tie-ins, but they were in regards to the IP. The very first two Iron Man game and Fantastic Four games done respectively by Activision for PlayStation 1. Those were atrocious.
Oh, jeez.
Yep.
Ouch.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that does. But I'm still holding up to this, still holding up hope that there will be a time where the Ninja Turtles will actually have a really decent AAA style type of game in the works someday.
Yeah, the only thing I'm hoping is
because they are long overdue for one, and I think now is the time they get on the ball with that.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. But one thing I'm hoping is because of recent events, because of Activision losing rights to the Marvel license, I hope that this doesn't afflict Beanox, because I do like them as a Spider-Man developer. I think they are really good, and if given the time, a little bit more, especially if they're making the tie-in for Amazing Spider-Man 3, I think they can do better games if given the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the studio that gave us Shattered Dimensions, one of the best Spider-Man games I played in a long time.
Oh God, it was amazing. Well, anyway, we could talk about all this as we want, but right now we have ourselves a show to get onto, and I think we already went past the 10-minute mark, so we need to get on with what we are here to present to you all. And since we've already taken care of Microsoft and Sony, this time around we are actually taking care of what Nintendo has in store. And as of recent, there have been a few leaks based on what Nintendo has planned for their upcoming digital event at E3, which is supposed to be in the vein as if it's like a Nintendo Direct, but it's in presentation form. But I think it's going to be more closed for like the press or whatever.
Yeah.
But everybody can still view it from online, like on. I really hope to God that they consider using Twitch and not just Ustream.
Oh, you're not the only one, my friend.
Yeah, but out of the few leaks, we selected one that we have decided that it actually sounds more legit. So we're gonna go off by it, but you know, as we all say with leaks, take them with a grain of salt, as some of them, if not all of them, are bound to be true or they could be false. But you know, we'll let you decide, but we're going to, you know, give off what we believe based on this leaked document or whatever. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And the first announcement coming from the supposed leak is new information on Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U. And they are giving tentative release dates for both versions, where we know that the 3DS version is coming out in the summer and the Wii U is coming out during the winter. Like, I'd say around Christmas time or something. But the 3DS version is coming out, they say, on July 18th, 2014, and the Wii U coming out December 2014. So, yeah, in my opinion, I really don't think the 3DS version is legit based on its release date. But Wii U, I could say it could go either way, but I'm still believing it could be either that or it could be an extremely early January 2015 release.
Right.
Yeah.
And another thing too, with Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U, I think we will get the finalized roster of all the characters that are playable. So, and I'm thinking we're probably going to be getting some of those characters, which we, you know, some of us have been kind of hoping for, and some of us were kind of anticipating may actually make an appearance. Like, I know some people are still waiting for Captain Falcon to be in the lineup of characters, and believe it or not, speaking of lineup of characters, as of recently, Ike from Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is coming back, but he's going to be in his Radiant Dawn counterpart, so yeah, that's that. So I'm thinking that they're going to announce the remaining roster, and then we will know those final release dates. So what do you all believe based on the first announcement?
Well...
one at a time.
Well, I'll let Jeff go, because
that's fine.
I like...
Honestly, for 3DS, it could be true. Like, it's on the verge between truth and fiction. Like, it's hard, but Wii U for December, that's a more probable release. Because they did say winter 2014, but to contradict that, at the same time, winter can mean anything from, you know, November all the way to, like, what, February, early March-ish?
Yep.
Yeah.
So for all we know, it could be November of this year all the way to either February of 2015. Which, if that's the case, then that's gonna hurt Nintendo a lot.
Yeah, if they don't make Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U their Christmas game, or their game for Christmas, then yeah, that's gonna hurt them big time.
Which I don't think that's gonna be the case, because this is gonna be one of their biggest holiday launch titles.
Yeah, they have to make it happen, or else they would be setting away from a gold mine.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So,
well,
Paul, what do you think?
Well, I think the release date of both systems, I agree. If they don't release it around holiday, that's the best way to put it, is holiday. So Christmas time, maybe Thanksgiving time. That would hurt them immensely. The fact that they're going to release more information or a final roster, I'm gonna kind of disagree. The only reason why is because I think they're gonna reintroduce either a couple new, or reintroduce or introduce a couple of new characters and then work on the roster like they used to do with Smash Bros. Brawl back when they did the releasing through the blog site.
Oh yeah, a Smash Brothers dojo.
Yep. So in my eyes, they're probably going to be like, oh, here's Captain Falcon. Here is, and this is just me saying, here's Snake again, and all of a sudden here comes Gino from Super Mario RPG, or you know, something like that.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna.
That'd be awesome.
I think they're gonna do that kind of thing, build up and say, here's somebody else, but wait for the announcement and follow our website.
I'm still holding on to the belief that Palutena is playable.
I think it is.
But I think other than that, the release date for July, that might be iffy. Maybe push back, maybe August.
Okay.
But this all supports something that I'll end my little spiel on when we're done at the end of the podcast.
Right.
No, but I actually thought of something too while you were talking. It could be interesting too that the near finalized roster. There could be a possibility that we could see that like at a big event such as EVO, because that game's gonna be officially at EVO this year.
That's
Not
right.
Smash Bros. 3DS / Wii U, but I think it's Melee
Project
once
M?
more. Yeah, Project M.
Yeah.
It's a Smash Bros. Game that's gonna be at EVO, but still, Nintendo could surprise us saying like, "Hey, here's the near finalized roster. If you want to see." Like, I mean, we've seen Namco done that like a couple months before the release of Tekken Tag 2 in 2012, if I recall.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Watch, they'll probably just be like, "Here's the final roster, but you can only play as 3 of them. Enjoy."
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I'm saying that could be a possible venue, because I mean, look what happened last year at EVO. I mean, a lot of people watched the event. They showed Nintendo that there was a lot of people that wanted to see, the Smash Bros. Event, and maybe Nintendo saw like, hey, this is a good way to capitalize on that. You know what I mean?
That's why they're doing the Smash Brothers Invitational Tournament at E3.
Yeah.
Yep. And even this support your point, the new character that they've been hinting at for Street Fighter, which was that doll lady. I forget what her name was, but they were like, "Hey, this is her," and only somebody that is a community manager gets to play as her.
Oh, jeez. Anyway, so yeah, that's that for Super Smash Brothers for 3DS and Wii U. We'll keep you up to date on that when we hear more information about that at E3. So let's go ahead and talk about the next one, and that is Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And they're hinting a release date for November 2014. That I can agree with.
Well, not only that, but didn't they also somewhat confirm, even with the original announcement video, that was coming out this November?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. But yeah, I mean, I really would love to see what Ruby and Sapphire look based on the 3DS standards, since we already got X and Y. The remakes are usually made to accommodate to the new hardware or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, that had pretty much black and white and Diamond and Pearl's graphics layout, but based on that generation.
Yep.
No, I didn't follow all the Pokemon for a while, and then I just got back into it with X and Y. X and Y was the only fully 3D one, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So, yeah, I wonder what they're going to be doing that's going to be brand new. Are they going to bring back like the Mega Evolutions like they were in X and Y for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire? Or are they going to go with something completely new that could be for a future Pokemon game? That's kind of, that kind of raises a lot of questions with something like that.
It depends, because if it's a remake, then they probably will introduce other things. But if it's kind of like a remastered, then they'll probably keep straight to the formula.
Yeah, probably.
So it really depends on. I think more information, if this turns out to be true, which I believe it will be, the more information we get out of it, we'll probably find out exactly what that means.
Well, Gen 1 Pokemon, they never had the Mega Evolutions until Pokemon Generations, the OVA, came out.
Yep.
Which is ironic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway. But yeah, Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, that's coming out later this year, so that is looking to be another big release for the 3DS for this holiday season, if it is coming out around that time. And Pokemon still sells, so it's obviously going to be selling like hotcakes. That's one of Nintendo's biggest bread and butters when it comes to any of their franchises is Pokemon on the handhelds. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the next game, Bayonetta 2. And they're saying a release date for Bayonetta 2 is August 15th, 2014, but this is more going to be likely towards Japan, as a US or Western release has not yet been finalized.
Right.
And I remember hearing from other sources saying that Bayonetta 2 is releasing this August in Japan. So, yeah, an August 15 2014 release the day before my birthday, yeah, that doesn't really seem realistic for a Western release because it usually takes a bit of time before, when a game releases in Japan, that it has to release in the West because, they have to go through the localization and translation process and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bayonetta 2. What do you guys think, based on what they're talking about here? Do you think the data's legit, or do you think there's something else about Bayonetta 2 to know more about to get you interested to buy the game, or what other types of opinions do you have on it?
I would say that I think that's gonna be another fall release
For the
for
Wii U?
US.
Oh, for the US and Europe,
Yeah.
probably?
Because here's the thing, like, it makes sense for Japan, but for us, it's gonna take a little bit longer for it to come over shores. And plus, Nintendo needs to have a big, they need a big lineup for the remainder of the year from both. Like, even before Thanksgiving, like, even right when fall starts to,
Mhm.
like, a day or two before Christmas.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
between that, they need a good, healthy lineup to say, like, hey, here are games that, if you're thinking of getting the Wii U, these are the games that we want you to play that would get you interested in this console.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Paul, what do you think?
I actually agree with Jeff, because if they do push it back to a fall release, it will give them enough time to polish the game.
I would say polish the game, but I'm thinking another thing too is, my God, Nintendo, I really hope that you do this and make you realize why you did not do well with the Wonderful 101 in terms of sales. But for God's sakes, market Bayonetta 2. If you're really looking forward to market your games now, you have got to market Bayonetta 2 because you are publishing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and you're only putting it on the Wii U, so you have to
exactly.
market it correctly.
I mean, if you're really hoping to get back the core gamers, you're going to have to do you're going to have to market that game like crazy and get out of your comfort zone, basically, of where you market your games, that is.
Right.
No, it'll definitely sell. I really think it'll sell in Japan, no problem.
Of course.
Here they will need a little bit of marketing support, but the other part of that is, I agree, if they push it back to a fall or holiday release, they need a very solidified lineup for that period.
Yes.
Because that's gonna make them the most money. It's
That would
Christmas
make
time.
the most money, and that would ensure a lot of sales for not only their software but their hardware as well, if they hope to capitalize on more owners and that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So that's how I feel about that.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, what you guys are saying, I totally agree with you. And but Bayonetta 2, it does come out this year, and it seems like, from what we are saying, fall 2014 release, or at least a holiday 2014 release, seems the most realistic. But we'll keep you up to date on that as well. And for the most part, I am looking forward to Bayonetta 2. I still need to beat the first game because I owned that game for quite some time, but I still have not had a chance to beat it because I've been playing other games or doing other things that have been taking up most of my time. But I hope to finish the original at some point.
I never played the original, but I hear it's kind of like a cult classic. People
Oh yeah, it is.
The first Bayonetta? Yeah.
It's a big cult classic. And there was something else I was going to mention too when talking about Smash Brothers, but I'll be talking about I'll talk about that after the show is over. But I'll tell it to you guys. But anyway, let's get back on track. Shin Megami Tensei Crossfire Emblem. They're aiming for a release date of August 29th, 2014. I do not agree with, because we have not heard a lot of information about this game except for the announcement trailer last year in January. And we haven't even know. We know it's going to be an RPG, but we don't even know what it's going to. What the core mechanics or what the story or what the gameplay or the presentation is going to be like. I mean, is it going to be like a traditional RPG, or is it going to be a strategy or a tactics game RPG? There's lots of things that are going on right there that we don't even know about. So, Jeff, what do you believe, or what are your thoughts on the release date, or just about Shin Megami Tensei Crossfire Emblem in general?
See, that's the thing. I don't even know if that game is still in development in regards to the other game too that you're gonna bring up, Yarn Yoshi, because we haven't heard jack about both those games since January of last year.
And
we've been hearing a lot of other rumors again with a grain of salt, that those two games have been canned. To be honest, I hate to say this, I think those games have been canned because we have been hearing nothing about those games. We haven't heard anything. Like, the only thing we saw that looked like that was actually in development was Yarn Yoshi, and those were screenshots, mind you.
Right.
Like the release, even just the announcement alone of Fire Emblem Cross Shin Megami Tensei, it wasn't even a legit, gameplay trailer. It was just like a flash trailer consisting of the logos and the characters from both respective series.
Well,
you know what I mean?
just an announcement concept.
Exactly. Yes.
So if they do say that the game is still in development, they gotta surprise us somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, Paul, what do you think?
Well, I haven't been following either series too much, but I know that like you were saying, it's only been announced, or even was like, hey, we're making it, or hey, we're thinking about making it.
Have you played? Speaking of Fire Emblem, have you tried out Fire Emblem Awakening?
I contemplated it.
You contemplate
The whole thing with Fire Emblem series was the thing that got me is if I make a mistake in a strategy game, I don't want to restart the entire level over. Seven of my things.
Dude, Fire Emblem Awakening, you don't even have to worry about that because it gives you that option to where you don't even have to follow that traditional formula.
Oh, so you don't have to have the permadeath.
Yeah,
Right.
It doesn't have the permadeath option.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you're looking for a way to get in the series, then I think that would be a good start for you.
Okay. Plus, it's fully 3D. Oh, that'd be interesting.
Oh god, man, that game, Fire Emblem Awakening, I would go as far to say it's probably the best game in the series, in my opinion.
Okay.
It's got a really good story. I mean, gameplay that they have, even though it's based on the previous games, but it's updates and what's new. It's just, oh my god, it'll blow you away, man.
That's something to contemplate. But my only worry about that with Shin Megami Tensei and X Fire Emblem, if it is in development, and if it does come out eventually, I hope it does not follow the same pattern as Project Cross Zone did, which there's 37,000 characters and they all take one line of dialogue, which takes 30 minutes to get through one segment. But that's a side point.
It's cool to see a type of game like that, but then again, they probably have to, make it all polygonal or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's limited knowledge, but again, I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay. So yeah, as we said, we don't know that much information, but we hope that it's still in production, but I guess we'll just have to wait in the next few weeks. All right, next up, X from Monolith Soft. And they are aiming for this Wii U RPG or JRPG to be released in September 12th, 2014. But, I really don't... I'm kind of 50-50 on this because Nintendo has said that the game is going to be releasing worldwide before the end of this year. So... And we still don't even know the official name of it yet. I've been hearing, from one side saying it's called Xenoworld, while the other side says it's called Xenogears Origins. Which, Xenogears Origins, that seems a bit too far-fetched, because Xenogears is actually owned, or the game Xenogears is still owned by Square Enix to this day.
Yeah.
But they haven't really made a new game because Tetsuya Takahashi no longer works at Square anymore since he formed Monolith Soft, which is actually more of the successor to Square in this day and age.
Yep.
Which the current Square, most of its members are just pretty much crappy.
I think that's putting it nicely, Kyle, to be honest.
There's still a few that I still like that still, actually give a damn about making good games.
Oh, true.
But
Few.
Yeah, a few, but not everybody. And if you want to say who my least favorite person out of the bunch is, look at the guy who directed the Final Fantasy 13 saga. Oh, God.
Don't remind me, please. Don't remind me.
Yeah, but anyway.
Final Fantasy Hallway.
Final Hallway 13. But anyway, Jeff, what are your thoughts on Soft's new game? Based on the release date or any other information of what they said?
First off, what you brought up, we've heard crazy stuff before. I mean, that rumor of it being called Xenogears Origins, I know it's far-fetched, but at the same time, it wouldn't be surprising to find out that, hey, Nintendo actually bought the IP, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because isn't Monolith Soft an exclusive developer over at Nintendo?
Yeah, it's first party.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo went over to Square and was like, hey, you haven't used this IP and God knows when. It's not even, if I recall correctly, trademarked anymore. Can we take it?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised because that does sound like legit. And plus, because also the main creator from that series, Takahashi, he does work at that developer now, and they have been doing the Xeno games. So it's possible that we could see revival of Xenosaga as this being a prequel. You know what I mean?
Xenogears, Xenosaga, or something. Yeah. But it's just the thing is that if they call it Xenogears Origins, you got to remember the original Xenogears was heavy with religion. You know, there were heavy references to different religions, and it could either be a really good story or it could actually offend a lot of people depending on which way you look at it.
True, but at the same time, ever since Iwata's become president and full-blown CEO of the whole corporation, they have become less conservative in regards to censoring and in regards to censorship. And I think I think they wouldn't mind these days, unlike where it was 20 years ago, where we wouldn't even say that stuff. You know what I mean?
I suppose
they would basically sweep that stuff in where it's like, hey, that church, yeah, that's not a church, that's a healing place.
Jeez. But
it's a brothel in the shape of a church.
But I mean, when you take a look at what's already been shown of the game, based on what we've seen from that recent gameplay footage and the previous trailers, it doesn't seem to give any sense of religious or Christian mythology or whatever. It seems like it's it's all following in the same footsteps as Xenoblade. Well, but anyway, Paul, what do you have to say?
To be honest, I haven't really read too much about it, but a lot of the videos I've seen on it, it's all action videos that kind of look like a mix between Monster Hunter and a turn-based RPG.
Yeah, that's exactly the impression of what both this game and Xenoblade have given off, based on the plays.
So that's all that. That's enough to get me excited, because you mentioned Monster Hunter, and I'm on board. If you give me three other friends, and I get to play with them while trying to hunt big monsters and with big mechs, it looks nice. But it also looks like, how long has it been in development? It's been a couple years.
It was announced in January 2013, so not too long ago.
Well,
but then again, Xenoblade came out in 2010, so.
Then the release date supposedly of September 12th, 2014.
That's what it's saying.
Yeah, I don't believe it.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a lot further than that. I mean, it's hopeful, but I mean, all the footage and whatnot looks like it is complete, maybe in beta.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But to be honest, I don't think there's going to be any religious
overtones.
I don't think anything like that. But then again, we haven't seen too much about it other than the action.
Yeah, that is true. But have you ever tried Xenoblade?
I played the Xenosaga. I have Xenogears. Never touched it. Xenoblade, I have not. I believe you did it in one of your videos, though. It was overlay on one of your announcements.
Yeah, when I came back after my computer was fixed. But yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you think the footage of what I shown you was actually something that you might be intrigued to try out sometime?
Oh yeah. If you give a player character for those other three characters that you were with, make it co-op.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it looks like it's going to be.
I think it does, but I'm not entirely certain. But I think it does, but it doesn't have online or anything like that. So that's the only downside.
You talking about the Xenoblade Chronicles?
Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But anyway, that X is still another. I mean, based on what we've seen, this is definitely one of those games I'm really looking forward to, as much as like Bayonetta 2 and Smash Brothers. But we'll just have to wait and see what they all say about this at E3 on Nintendo's digital event on June 10th. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the next thing. They talk about some of the third-party games lineup. What third-party games? I'm thinking mostly some that are from the indies, the indie developers.
Yeah.
but I don't know what other third-party games are coming out for it. That's
Monster Hunter.
But if we're talking about 3DS as well, I could think Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate as well as Sonic Boom.
Yeah. Oh, Watch Dogs, because that's coming out later in the year for
But then again, it's already released. It would already be released for the other consoles too. So that's a good point.
I won't be surprised if a representative would come out from Ubisoft to talk about the Wii U version, how it differs from the other cross-gen versions of the game.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to say, because they're going to be like, hey, this is why this is better, and I think one thing I'd like to add is probably Bravely Default 2.
Bravely Second.
Yep, they got great success with the first one.
So Bravely Default. Oh yeah, definitely. And another thing is Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. That's got to be another one because there's still not a solid release date for the US version.
Oh, that has to be a given.
Yeah, because I think the reason why that they're actually why the 3DS version is delayed in the US is because I think they're actually doing a redub on some of the characters, because they actually have done that for some of the Professor Layton games, and I know that Phoenix Wright already has an established voice actor,
right?
Which is Sam Riegel, who was previously the voice of Donatello in the 2003 Ninja Turtles animated series.
And ironically, bring up Spider-Man, he also did the voice of both Peter Parker and Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man Lions.
Yeah, exactly. And he was the voice of Jude Mathis in Tales of Exilia as well.
Yeah. But also, if that's the case too, if they're taking that, well, maybe this, unlike with the recent Phoenix Wright game, maybe this is going to be a option for both a digital and physical release. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, no, I really don't. But again, I really don't think we'll hear anything more about the new Ace Attorney game that was announced. But
that was just announced.
Yeah, but that's one to definitely look forward to. Look out for in the future. But other third-party games, I'm thinking the new Skylanders Trap Team, Disney Infinity 2.0 with the Marvel characters.
Not that much, really, when you think about it. And that's kind of
really not that much. I mean, but hopefully we do get to hear something surprising that comes out of that, because Nintendo, or when it comes to their hardware, they still need to get back third-party support. Anything, even though they've still been trying, but it seems like there's something that's always making them where the third-party support is just kind of backing away from them. But then again, it could be because Nintendo games are of high quality. But that is considered Nintendo's greatest strength and their greatest weakness at the same time.
Well, in all fairness, we haven't said, and I don't blame Iwata for this, but we can't say that we haven't said that maybe it's a good handful of representatives from Nintendo themselves, feuding with these third parties. Maybe it's on both camps, you know what I mean? Because I really don't believe it's Iwata or even the higher-ups, you know what I mean? I know the higher-ups have done some stupid crap, but I don't think they've done able to do something that suicidal.
I guess you're right. But anyway, let's go ahead and go to the next subject. And this is one that it could, it would be definitely a big surprise, but it's one to just, still take a grain of salt with. It looks like, it seems like Nintendo may actually be planning to reveal new information about the GameCube games that they plan to release on the Wii U Virtual Console. And they have 5 that are supposedly going to release on the same day after the Nintendo Digital event. But they are, those 5 games are Super Smash Bros. Melee, F-Zero GX, Super Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, and Mario Kart Double Dash. If this turns out to be true, this would actually be a good startup for their GameCube lineup of Virtual Console games.
I actually agree. I'm really impressed with that lineup, if that is true. And I can see this actually being legit. Like, this is the most legit piece of info I see being realistic from this whole list.
Yeah.
The only problem is, and it's just going back to the recent video you did on your 2 Cents vlog.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I hate leaks. Like this whole thing we're doing right now, I like leaks to an extent where we talk about it. Just something to talk about, especially for a big event like E3. But if this turns out to be true, and I do think this is true, then this sucks. Because because I wish I went in dark, and if I saw this without even knowing, that would have been big for me. But now I know that would ruin my anticipation. It's kind of like how,
Right.
like way back in 2010, like a couple hours before Nintendo's big event, when IGN spoiled that, hey, Retro's new game is Donkey Kong Country Returns.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that was exciting to hear, but once you saw, it's like, that mystified game that we were promised, it just ruins the anticipation, you know what I mean? I'm glad the game was
does.
released, and I'm glad the game was announced, don't get me wrong, but it's disappointing finding out what game it is, instead of finding out, like, oh, it could be this, it could be that.
Yeah, it could be either way.
Sunshine, I'm glad to see Sunshine being released, but at the same time, and especially with both how the tablet is designed, and especially the Wii U Pro Controller, excuse me,
Uh-huh.
I don't know how the triggers are going to work for the pump.
Well, they do have the two shoulder buttons on each side, so I guess it's not a total loss.
True, but it's just like, when you usually think of triggers, they usually go for analog, not digital, you know what I mean?
Right.
Which the Wii U has, and it just feels weird, like, that's one, but then again, we probably don't know, like, maybe the Nintendo was probably announced, hey, we're releasing a re-release of the Wii U of the Wii U Pro Controller, so it can have analog instead of digital triggers, you know what I mean?
Right.
I won't be
But then
surprised.
again, we also heard about that new controller that's supposed to be in the style of a GameCube controller that's releasing to coincide with Super Smash Bros. For Wii U.
Yeah, and it does sound like
That'll be smart.
controller is going to be compatible with Virtual Console games via the connectivity of the Wiimotes.
Mhm.
The only thing I gotta say is, these games, I know this is not the strong suit of Nintendo, but especially for a game like Super Smash Bros. Melee, Double Dash, and even F-Zero GX, I know these games didn't really originally have these components, but include internet capability.
Oh God, yes, they got to. If they don't, that would be like a really bad sign.
Because I'm
Yes.
glad to see that both F-Zero GX and especially Double Dash are being re-released for the as digital releases for the Virtual Console lineup. But at the same time, it feels like it's a cheap. It feels like it cheapens the announcement, because I'd rather seen actual HD re-releases, like remasters of both GX and Double Dash,
Right.
like built from the ground up, akin to like what we saw with Wind Waker last year.
Uh-huh. Okay. Paul, what do you think?
That would be a good marketing ploy for them starting to bring GameCube games into the lineup, because to be honest, I read this when we first started talking about it, and I was like, oh really? They're thinking about bringing GameCube games back to the Virtual Console. That's kind of smart, because I mean, especially for the Western release though, Smash Brothers Melee with an internet component, considering that that's still played at EVO today,
Yeah.
that needs to be thought about.
Yes.
But other than that, it's a good start.
Mhm.
It'll be a great start, and that'll up their sales, and it consider, oh, okay, I can get some GameCube games, even though I haven't, for the people that like, oh, I traded my GameCube in, but I missed playing that game. So I mean, it's a smart idea, and I think that's probably the most, like Jeff said,
Probably the most realistic choice.
yeah. So far on this list is I pretty much think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So.
But I guess we'll just, like I said, we'll just have to wait and see if that actually does turn out to be true, but who knows. Okay, next up, Hyrule Warriors. Now in the leak, it says that they're aiming a release date for June 27th, 2014, but from recent reports, it actually is coming out in August in Japan, so I would say around the holiday lineup with the others as well. What do you think, Jeff?
Range around October to November at best, if that's the case.
Yeah. So, Hyrule Warriors, what do you guys think from that recent information blowout that just came about for the game?
Even before the big info blowout, courtesy of what's the Japanese magazine?
Famitsu?
Famitsu. Even before that, I was hyped for the game. I'm not a huge fan of the Musou games / Dynasty Warriors. I played them, but I'm more of a casual fan of those games than a die-hard gaming fan of that series. But even before that, I was like, okay, I need this game right now.
Right.
But find out that it was... Oh.
No, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, that's alright. But find out that... It was really surprised to find out that we thought it was only, Omega Force, the usual developers on this series, with, in co-development in Japan. That wasn't the case. It was both them and, surprisingly enough, Team Ninja.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that really surprised me, that especially how they designed the main villainous of the game too. It's just like, that just goes to show how much Nintendo has changed, because they're letting a villain like that structure, design-wise, being focused on for the whole game. And it's just like, it shows that, what I'm going back to earlier, that it shows that Nintendo's being less conservative about their ideas, which is great for them in not only the current but future business model for them as a company. That being said, I'm excited for the Hyrule Warriors, and I can't wait to hear more about the game coming up at E3.
Oh, definitely. Paul, your thoughts?
If you're a Zelda fan, you're probably going to be playing Hyrule Warriors, no matter
who
made it, where it came from, and what spin-off it is. Like myself, I like Legend of Zelda, and I like Dynasty Warriors series. I fell off probably around Empires 5, but yeah, I'll probably be playing it. As for the release date, I don't think that's true. It would probably be further, much, much further. Like, exactly what Jeff was saying, because it's pretty much like a given. If they push it back, they're going to have a huge lineup for holiday release, if that's correct. Mm-hmm. So that's what I really think. But a lot of the leak and whatnot, it's interesting and it looks pretty.
Oh, definitely.
For the... I don't really want to say it, but for comparatively hardware-wise, Wii U is not the best out of all three contenders right now. It still holds up with a lot of the NPCs on screen, because I've seen a couple of the gameplay videos. Granted, I think it's like a compilation of one, but it looks nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I would definitely play it. But release date doesn't seem solid. Probably needs to be further.
Yeah, I mean, based on all what we've seen from that, that information that was posted online, Hyrule Warriors, even has me more hooked to actually try it out, or maybe even buy it. Well, most likely buy it when it comes out later this year. So, yeah, I really like how I really like how Eiji Aonuma is taking this approach as saying that this is like the first part of his plan to break away from traditional Zelda games, to take him into newer directions and with, newer gameplay ideas.
And it's a good idea.
Yeah, it is, definitely. And I'm still holding out. I'm still holding hope that this game is actually based off the prequel comic based on the Skyward Sword or whatever.
I think it is.
If you read Hyrule Historia, there is a prequel manga comic based on Skyward Sword. It tells like the origins of like what happened in Hyrule before, or what happened on the surface before everything or everybody was transferred up to the sky or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the Link in that comic, that was on the surface, he actually has like a scarf around his neck, which this Link in Hyrule Warriors has. So I'm thinking it's going to be the anti-hero Link from that comic or whatever. Because in the prequel manga, he was portrayed more as an anti-hero type of guy.
Knowing that, but it'll be
No, go ahead. You first.
All right. No, that, but it'll be a smart move on that if that was the case too. Because granted, even though it's a spin-off, the more I see of character development, even for a mute protagonist like Link, the better for the series in general.
Yeah.
Because there's one thing I gotta give, like, I'll say this right now, Skyward Sword is not my favorite installment. There's a lot of good things, and if there's one thing I absolutely love from the game, it was the first game in the whole series that felt like there was actual character development. Not only Link, but all the main cast. Right from Link to Zelda, even her father,
Kaepora Gaebora.
Yeah. It felt like it was the first...
The guy before he becomes the owl, basically.
Yeah, the headmaster, basically.
Yes.
It felt this is like the first Zelda game I actually cared, not only for Zelda, but just for the whole cast of characters that you interact with for once.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, definitely worth looking out for this year. But for June 27th release, yeah, that's not realistic. I would say it's about around the time what Jeff was talking about, around October, supposedly.
Yeah.
Like like Wind Waker HD when it came out for physical release in October 1st, I think. Or was it a little after that? Oh, I don't know. But anyway, somewhere around there. Anyway, next game, Mario Party U. And this is probably a new game, but I'm thinking, well, it definitely is a new game, but I think it's going to be the 10th game in the series, and I think it's going to be one of the Wii U games that's going to highlight the NFC compatibility.
Right.
Because Nintendo says that they are wanting to showcase more of the strengths of the Wii U gamepad, and since they are going to be showing more of the NFC functionalities, especially when they're having those new devices to where you can actually put the toys, kind of like the Skylanders figures, on those things to read with the NFC reader, I think they're going to be taking more of that approach with Mario Party U, if this turns out to be the case.
Right.
So, and holiday 2014 release, I could see that being possible, especially for casuals, but it's kind of hard to say there too. But Jeff, what do you think? Do you think this could be legit, or do you think there might be some other thing or some other truth to it?
It makes sense because of what you said, and it was stated before that they were going to show the NFC compatible titles at this year's E3. Like, if there's one thing that they were going to say they were going to show most of, is games that actually use the gamepad legit.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I do see a Mario Party U being announced. I don't see it coming out for holiday 2014. The reason why is because, the recent installment was just released on the 3DS. How long ago?
That's a good question. That was released back in November or something, wasn't it?
It was either November or earlier, beginning of this year. For us.
Uh-huh.
Granted, even though it's a multiplayer, game.
Yes.
A mini game, Fetch Quest.
Well, of course, a mini game completion, basically.
I think that's too soon, even for a game like that. Like holiday 2014, I think that's too soon for a game like that.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, if we're gonna speculate on when it's gonna release, I wouldn't be surprised if it's released like a couple months later, like especially around this time next year for the Wii U. Especially since it's a more casual title for casual players. That would make more sense.
Right.
I do see it being announced, but I do see more realistically seeing a worldwide release of it coming out, like saying like either May-ish or June at best of next year, than holiday 2014.
Right. And, if this turns out to be true and they actually do show a lot of things that actually look really exciting, I hope this is the game that brings me back to the Mario Party series, because after Mario Party 3, it's just Mario Party games has been running dry for me.
Well, I think the main factor is that it feels like nothing but the same thing. Like, obviously, because it's a minigame type. It's true.
Well, but I know.
It wouldn't hurt to have some diversity. Like, I didn't pick up the 3DS title, but at least I give it credit for it to try and do something new and feel somewhat different at least.
True. Paul, what do you think?
When is that, you were talking about the what do you call it? The thing that's kind of like Skylander?
Oh, the NFC portal or whatever?
When is that supposed to be released, or has it even been talked about?
It hasn't. It's been talked about a little, but there hasn't been an official release date, but I'm thinking this fall.
If it's this fall, then holiday maybe. Then if that's the case, then it's been in development for a while. But I think it might be pushed back to 15.
Probably.
If anything.
Yeah.
But other than that, they really need to do something different, because I've never really been a fan of Mario parties, but I know that they kind of not been the best, and they kind of get repetitive, because it is pretty much the same mini games over and over again.
Right.
They're gonna have to reinvent something, and if this E3 is gonna show them, hey, we got this new, and it's online capability, and everything else like that, then that would help them out. But who knows? And if it's true, we'll see. But I don't know. I kind of raise my eye, like turn my head and raise an eyebrow, like I don't know if that's true or not.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, I do agree with what you guys are saying. So if this turns out to be true, this might actually, be a good thing, especially for Wii U owners who are looking for something to try out the Wii U for. I mean, especially with the gamepad, but we'll have to see if this is actually true or not. Anyway, next up, Yarn Yoshi.
Like I stated earlier when we were talking about Fire Emblem Cross Shin Megami Tensei,
Yeah.
I see that being more realistic of it being released, unlike Fire Emblem. I do think that title was canned because, like I said before when we were talking about that game, there was nothing shown about game, just like a quick flash, just concept trailer, just announcing the game.
But they just said that development just began in progress or whatever for that game. But, that's another story.
Exactly. While with Yarn Yoshi, we did see a little bit snippet of screenshots. Well, I meant to say gameplay, but screenshots as well, too. I do believe that game is far more in development, in whether in question if Fire Emblem is or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, the release dates. It kind of brings into question how long in development it is, because if it's been that far in development, then I can see October being realistic. Mm-hmm. However, if it's not the case, I do see early to mid 2015 being more realistic.
Yeah, definitely. And, I really like how they're taking this approach with Yoshi, much the same that what they did with, Kirby, with Kirby's Epic Yarn, but...
Mm-hmm.
But, I could go for something new within the Yoshi games.
Agreed.
Paul, what are your thoughts?
Well, if it's anything like Kirby's Epic Yarn, then it's going to be a great game. But I think it's pretty much going to be like, hey, remember how we told you we're making Yarn Yoshi? I think they're probably going to reintroduce, be like, don't forget, it's right over here in October 2014. I don't see that.
Yeah, probably.
It really depends on how long in development they are. They are in. Because if anything, I think they started making it, and then their development team got sidetracked on other projects Nintendo asked them to do. Who is it? Nintendo of America that's making that, or do we know who the developer is?
It's Goodfield, the guy who made Kirby's Epic Yarn.
Okay, so I mean, then it might be just one project. So it might be a re-announcement, like, hey, here it is, but we're not ready to release it, or we don't have a set date. October 2014 doesn't seem right.
Yeah, probably.
It depends on how long in development, like Jeff said.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I do agree on both sides of where you're coming from. So if this does make it to E3 this year, then it's going to be really, it's going to be really interesting to see how far that game has progressed in terms of the development side. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm. And if this all turns out to be true, it's going to be interesting. Nintendo's going to have a strong lineup if this is all true.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, next up is another one that is going to be new, but still take it with a grain of salt. A new Metroid game for 3DS.
I really hope this is true.
To be frank, just like we said about the Wii U, VEC, GameCube lineup, how that being realistic, I also see that being realistic too. Because when you look to the far right, under where it says speakers, the speaker's none other than Reggie Fils-Aimé. And let's think back to late last year when the VGX were still going on, when Reggie Fils-Aimé came out to present the final character of Tropical Freeze, which was Cranky Kong. What was he wearing on his spiffy coat? A little pin of Samus. Yeah. So I do see this being realistic. I'm not saying it's a far-fetched one, but I do see that I do think a Metroid game is in development and will be announced. The question is, for which system? Wii U or 3DS?
If any, well, that is a good question. I mean, if they want to, I would see this going either way, but if they want to get back in the tradition of what Metroid games are supposed to be, I would say stick with the 3DS, but if they want to build upon what was established in Metroid Other M, or to make it something with new elements, or from what Miyamoto perspective to be in future Metroid games based on that attraction in Nintendo Land, then put it on Wii U.
Right.
Why not both?
Yeah, I was just to say, we really don't know if there's two titles for the respective consoles in development. It's just which one's going to come out first. And I agree with you, honestly, Kyle, that I think the 3DS is going to be the title that's going to be released because, let's face facts, when you look at sales-wise, the 3DS is doing way better than the Wii U is. And
Currently,
I would see that
yes.
At the moment, yes. And I see Nintendo putting more effort on the 3DS at the moment than the Wii U. I'm not saying they won't, but I do think that there's going to be there's two titles in development of that IP for both respective consoles. But in regards to saying which one's coming out first, I do think a 3DS title will be coming out first. Then later down the road, a Wii U.
So, if it does come out on 3DS, do you think it's going to be in a 2.5D segment that tries to harken back to its traditional gameplay formula, or do you think it's going to be something completely different or something that harkens back to like the Metroid Prime games?
I think it's going to be 2.5D because here's the thing, we're still waiting for a sequel for Metroid Fusion.
Yes, I agree.
Oh, yeah. And if they did a sequel to Metroid Fusion, which would make the most sense, that would probably be the best. If they went back to the Metroid Prime series, they did Hunters, didn't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
they did.
And it took them so long to like re-release because it was pushed back, and for some reason I don't see them going back to that.
And it was
Because that
hard.
would not be smart.
And it was hard to control that game too, especially when playing from a first-person perspective.
Which, I mean, you could perfect it with the touchscreen.
Of course.
However, I really think they're going to go to 2.5D for the 3DS version.
Yes.
And it's funny you guys bring up Prime because I don't think they will even go back to the Prime timeline because ever since Upper M was released, aren't those games no longer considered in canon?
Well, the Prime series is a sub-series that's not a part of the official storyline, but they still are in the canon universe, but are not, are not a part of the official storyline.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't see them honestly going back to the Prime series if that's the case. You know what I mean?
It wouldn't make sense if they went back to the Prime games because they pretty much finished up the story that's about the element Phazon, and pretty much all the Phazon was destroyed in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, so there's really no reason to go back to that story element.
No.
Yeah, if anything, if they do, like, let's say, make one for the Wii U, it's probably going to be in the style of Metroid Other M, which I regret to this day. I've always wanted to play, and I have not, but I know people loved it who played it, and some people hated it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I like the game because of the gameplay. I know some people give flack because of the narrative that Sakamoto did, Yoshio Sakamoto, one of the original creators. But when you take a look at it, from a Japanese perspective, it's actually very interesting, and it actually makes you respect Samus as a character with, human traits even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do agree with Kyle on this because, ever since the game was originally released back in September 2010, ever since then, I stayed far away from the game as I could because I've heard nothing but venomous remarks in regards to the game of how sexist it was, how horrible it was a representation of not only the Metro franchise, but also the main character, Samus Aran. I just got a chance to finally play the game late last year because I got a really good deal off of Amazon.com. And I gotta say, I played it, and it's just like, I don't get what the hell these people were talking about. This is the first. I agree with you completely. This is the first time I actually enjoyed Samus as a legit character because going back to how I talked about Skyward Sword, granted it's a different IP, but it's the same regards because that was the first time I liked seeing character development inside a character like Samus. And to be frank, people are saying that game was sexist. Let's be honest with one another. The games prior to RM, the interpretation of Samus and her development as a character, that was sexist. Because ever since Metroid 1, she's been defined as a sexist character.
She's always been a sexual icon ever since her conception.
That's what I mean, that's like, if you want to bring sex into it, let's go way back into 87 when Metroid 1 was first released.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And also...
And I was going to say... I always bring this up, and it really still irks me about why people make a fuss about Samus freaking out at Ridley in that game, and they're still not accepting the fact that the storyline of Other M was built upon the canon of the Zero Mission prequel manga, even though it was retconned, but it still happened, regardless.
And I was going to bring that up too, because, like you just said, that's true, but at the same time, like we brought up earlier with Prime, since they're no longer fully canonized entries in the series as, actual events, it makes sense because when you look at the now canonical timeline, it's Metroid, Metroid 2, Super Metroid, then Other M. That makes sense. Now, if the Primeys were still, considered canonical entries inside the series, yeah, that wouldn't make sense, narratively whatsoever. But since they no longer are, it does make sense.
Right. Anyway, I think we've been on Metroid far too long, so let's go ahead and move forward here since we need to,
wrap it up.
Wrap it up since we're on the last few titles. A new game that's coming out for the Wii U, and I think this is one that's in development between both Nintendo and Namco Bandai, which I think they've been kind of hinting at based on leaked information, but this still could be nothing but rumors. A new game called Pokken Fighters. It's supposed to be like Pokemon. It's supposed to have Pokemon characters, but with fighting styles based from the Tekken series, or the fighting system, essentially.
Basically, the main developers from the Tekken franchise are developing this game, if it's true.
Yes.
Now, speaking of which, I do believe this is to be true because remember around this time last year, I forget which event it was a Japanese-specific one, but remember that leaked video? They were showing that 3D retrospective video of the whole Pokemon franchise, and then right at the end they saw that little static image between those two.
I think Lucario and something else.
Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I do think this is real. I think that's going back to both Metroid and the Wii U DC lineup. I do think this is realistic because we've heard about this, not officially, but on the sideline. Supposedly talked about a lot of times, and we saw the trademarks for Pokken Fighters. So I do believe this is true, and also, now talking about the Namco development team, the main team behind Tekken. I'm actually for that. I've been dying to see a more 3D fighters in the same vein as Tekken, to be honest. Now, it does sound really weird for an IP like Pokemon.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this could be another IP that probably utilizes the NFC portal.
True.
So it could make them money too, just like how Activision has with the Skylanders franchise. You know what I mean?
I did not think about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Ever since Skylanders was brought about by Activision, they have been rolling in the dough ever since.
Yeah. And they did say earlier.
Yeah,
they did say earlier that this year they're really focusing on not only games that really centralize on the gameplay wise, but also the NFC side of the gamepad as well too. And I do think that this is a game that will heavily utilize the NFC gamepad because they did it before with Pokemon Rumble.
Yes.
So I do see this being as a actual evolution from that title to Pokken Fighters.
But better than Pokemon Rumble, though.
Oh, of course. I see Pokemon Rumble as like a experimental IP for what we got with Pokemon Fighters. It's a full-fledged title. You know what I mean?
Yes. So, Paul, what do you think?
I think it's gonna happen. Because from the static images to a lot of the hints, I think it is in the works. And Spring 15 sounds about right.
Yeah.
And from the collaboration between Nintendo and Namco, which I believe Namco did the Star Fox Assault.
Yes.
A long time ago, and they've also done a couple other things.
Porting. I think they allowed
something.
I think they allowed to use Link in Soul Calibur 2 on the GameCube version.
Yes, and they are also porting something. Is it Smash Brothers for the 3DS?
They're developing Smash Brothers for 3DS and Wii U.
Okay. So,
yeah, they're working alongside Sora Ltd.
So I think this is very true, and I think the release date is solidified.
Definitely. I mean, and that's something that Wii U needs as well, as more fighters.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the only only two fighting games we got for the system right now are Tekken Tag Tournament 2 Wii U Edition and Injustice Gods Among Us, and that's pathetic.
Especially it's pathetic too when there's even Peripheral by Hori it's like a dedicated fight stick for the Wii U, and there's no games to utilize. It's just Tekken Tag 2 and Injustice.
Yep. And both are
Sad.
great games, don't get me wrong, but
exactly, yes.
just the number of games, that's pathetic.
It's actually sad when we talk about it. It's really is sad that, you know, when you think of Wii U, you think there'll be more fighters because, let's face it, whether against specs or not, it at least is in the same power, even higher than, you know, spec was in regards to the PS3 and 360. So those games that have been released over the years should be easy to port over for the Wii U. Like, I'm still waiting for DOA 5, even though I already have it for 360. I wouldn't mind, you know, double dipping for a Wii U version.
Mm-hmm.
Just to support the like, in all seriousness, because I want to support the console, because I want to do well.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
So, Pokken Fighters, spring 2015 release does seem legit if this does turn out to be true, but we'll have to wait and see. Next up, and this is probably something that's going to surprise a lot of people if this does turn out to be true, Star Fox U for the Wii U.
I really hope so, if that's true.
I'm sorry to be, I'm gonna be the cynical one in this group. I don't believe it. I can see it happening, but it's just, they haven't touched that IP in years.
Or done it right.
But you get what I'm
years.
saying. They haven't touched it in years. Like, to them, it feels like that franchise is dead to them. So, I wouldn't mind it. I will love it, but I'm a firm believer, like, especially with this IP, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I see it. And to be honest, again, Star Fox U, that would be a big title, like a really big title for the Wii U. But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if they did another remaster of a Star Fox stuff for the 3DS, because they already have the assets from Star Fox 64 that they can reuse for, like, say, like a re-release of, like, either Adventures or more importantly, Star Fox Assault for the 3DS. You know what I mean?
Well, if anything, I think they would have to remake Adventures, but, you know, with putting in their own assets or whatever, instead of having to reuse Rare's, because Rare's no longer a part of them.
Exactly, but because that's what I'm saying. I see Assault being more realistic if it's going to be a remaster of another Star Fox game, which I see,
I guess,
to be frank, being more realistic than see a brand new title, because if they really want to see there's a franchise that is still relevant, I would see more remasters and re-releases being realistic than just say, like, hey, we're making a new title.
Right. Okay, Paul, what do you think?
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful, trying not to be cynical, but I'm really hopeful, because that would be something that they could kind of, like, saying that it was dead, have it be revived, and actually say, here it is, we're thinking about it. It would solidify a fan base that kind of got it away from Nintendo but loved that. But then bring them back. It would be something that would bring a lot of fanboys back to the Nintendo.
Well, yeah, that's...
But at the same time, is it true? I want to say yes, but at the same time, I'm kind of saying no. I really hope for it, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm kind of 50-50 with you guys as well, so...
Yeah.
So, but I guess we'll just have to see if that does turn out to be true, or if it is actually going to be Platinum Games' next project, which has kind of been, talked about, what could be Hideki Kamiya's dream game that he actually wants to make from a Nintendo franchise.
Yeah, but to be fair, at the same time, too, with the response that he's gotten consistently over Twitter, maybe those tastes have changed because of how abundance of those users have been used as, cannon fodder to him. Like, Eevee's gone so far that he's like, okay, if anyone mentions a new Star Fox game for me, I'm gonna flat out ban them on Twitter.
Well, but then again, do we know if he's being truthful, or do we know if he's being a troll?
True.
That's the thing, because he has been kind of trollish on Twitter, so...
Yeah, but at the same time, I wouldn't blame him. Like, it would suck, but I wouldn't blame him, ban those people, because, like, there's a certain degree that a creator can get to a point, it's like, I don't care, you know what I mean?
Right. But whenever he's not trolling, you can actually tell, that he's actually being professional from what he talks about. So, there's always the possibility that he actually could be, actually doing something that, that he wants to do, or it's just, he could be just kind of keeping it in disguise with trolling or whatever. But anyway, well, we'll just have to wait and see, but, well, if this does turn out to be true, this would actually be a great thing, but for right now, just keep it 50-50. And last but not least, new Legend of Zelda. So we have confirmed that we do know that the new Legend of Zelda is actually going to be shown at this year's E3, but a title has not yet been finalized, and we don't know what the art style or the gameplay or what the whole presentation is like, but they're aiming to release this game sometime next year. So, Jeff, what do you think?
I think that's the game that they're gonna cap off their digital event, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
that's the title. Like, I think because I wish they wouldn't do that, but since it's a digital event, because we don't know how the digital event's gonna turn out,
Uh-huh.
I do see him reenacting what they did way back 10 years ago, what they did with the announcement of Twilight Princess.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, they're probably going to pull off that same stunt again.
See, now that's the problem, because since we don't know what the digital event is, like the whole format, if it's just like what they did last year with their take on their direct, I can't see that being hype, because it is going to be for us, but it's just the announcement, or in general, you won't see like how it was 10 years ago. Like, that room was ablaze with, mass amounts of just, happiness and joy. Like, I don't see that, coinciding well with just like how they did last year. However, if it's like how you and I theorized about how the digital event is, it's just like it's basically like a keynote like they did in the past, but just for closed doors, like for a selected group of people.
Right.
Then that would be the smartest move for them.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to the game, I do see it being announced like with the full title and seeing like what the game is, both like in aesthetic and actual gameplay. 2015. Just for clarification, I do remember Skyward Sword being announced at E3 2010, but was it released a year after?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, holiday 2015 I do see being realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it says to be announced 2015, I do see it realistically being to be a holiday 2015.
Yeah. Okay. Paul, your thoughts?
I'm kind of indifferent, even though I kind of know that there is a new Zelda game in the works. I kind of want to see and hear about what it's going to be about before I really make any decision. So, I mean, I haven't really followed a Zelda game, but the last one I played was Twilight Princess, admittingly, but I loved hearing that Skyward Sword had more of a characterization with a lot of characters, and you know what? I lied. I'm sorry. I played the Link Between Worlds. That's what I played.
I was gonna say, why haven't you been playing that, man?
No. That's the last one. I'm sorry. But what I would want to see from a Zelda game was Twilight Princess took a huge dark turn. I would want them to kind of go in a more mature route, but who knows if that's going to happen. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like the World of Darkness. I mean, with a lot of people that played Legend of Zelda back in the day, I would want them to kind of aim it towards that. But who knows what's going to happen?
Of course.
Right.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to say where this is going to turn out, but 2015, I do seeing that year being a legitimate year for the new game to release, because even though as we said, Skyward Sword was officially announced in E3 2010, it didn't release until the holiday season of 2011, so I do see this being a legitimate release year for the game. But I'm really looking forward to what they're showing for the game and what the final name of it's going to be, because I really want to see what Aonuma really has in store for this new title, with what newer gameplay experiences that he's going for this time around.
Yeah, like what they did with Skyward Sword, I really want them to push. And they said before that this is gonna be, the much, this is gonna be the most drastic different Zelda title we've seen in a very long time. And
yeah,
what I mean by that, I really hope they push the envelope, not in story, because here's the thing: people don't really know the difference between, they really don't know what the term mature means.
Yeah.
When I see a term in story of mature, I look at Skyward Sword. People tend to see like mature as in regards to like God of War, and that regards to storytelling. I don't want to see that storytelling in a future Zelda title, but I do want to see them push it more because we've seen mature takes of storylines in regards to, say, like Skyward Sword, and especially in Majora's Mask. I want to see that being more infused in the lore of the Zelda series. But I want to see more. I really do think there needs to be voice acting. I know a lot of people have said that they don't, but just for the sake of the series, I think there needs to be introduced legit voice acting, because let's face facts. I know there's a lot of people that say and like to bring up the freaking CDI games, but you know what? Those weren't fully funded by Nintendo, so don't blame Nintendo for that crap. That was from Philips. And 2, that was 20 years ago. Let it go. Seriously, let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. Anyway, that from what was shown on the leak, or from the from the leak on this document, that is all with what Nintendo planned, or what is supposedly showing for their digital event. So one at a time, we're going to go ahead and we'll give our final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this episode. So Jeff, why don't you go first?
Well, since we finally finished on the big 3, I'll say this right now. I'm more excited in both Nintendo and Microsoft than I am with Sony.
Okay.
Because like I said last week when I did the whole shindig for the Sony talk, Sony was great, but at the same time they were just lackluster. Like these from both we've seen from Microsoft and Nintendo, if these are true, I'm more excited from both camps than I was with Sony's announcements, because let's face facts, well, yeah, most of them for both Microsoft and Nintendo are going to be expected, like with Sony. There are more surprises that we've heard from these leaks, if these are true, that, excite me more than the surprises we heard from Sony.
Definitely.
As a gamer, I'm saying. I mean...
Oh, yeah, as a gamer.
Like, business-wise, that makes sense for Sony, but as a gamer, it's just like with the launch of the PS4 and the skyrocketed success they've had with that console, it just feels lackluster that those were the surprising games that they're going to announce, you know what I mean? Whereas with the other camps, I'm more excited. Even with Nintendo, if this is legit, and if this is sad, if this is, the legit whole list that they're going to announce, this is what both 2011 and especially... This is what 2011, 2012, and 2013 should have been combined, because the last 3 years have been abysmal. Not horrible, but lackluster. I just feel like that Nintendo didn't care. If this is the legit list, this is gonna be the second coming of what we would want to see since E3 2010.
Yeah. Okay.
In other words, this is something that Nintendo desperately needs, if true.
Right. Okay, Paul, your final thoughts.
If this is true, and a lot of those people are still Fire Iwata, and this is definitely true, they should probably rescind their remarks, because as Jeff was saying, this is pretty much going to be the coming of Nintendo. I agree also. I mean, it's funny because Jeff and I pretty much have the same opinion. Sony has the weakest lineup out of all of them. Microsoft, it's interesting, but Nintendo, and I'm not really a big fan of Nintendo. I only have 2 games for my Wii U. This is making me really interesting to see how the gloves come off this time around. And if some of these are true, and if it's going to be holiday releases, and I've talked to you guys about this, but I'll say it now, they're doing smart tactics. They have Smash Brothers coming out in August, which will up their 3DS sales, and it'll get some software sales. Then when it starts to go down, it'll go back up when Christmas time comes out with the Wii U version of Smash Brothers, among all these other titles that are coming out in the holiday. And then next year, we know for a fact that the 3DS is going to sell like hotcakes in Japan more than it already has because of Monster Hunter 4G.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's going to be hills and valleys for Nintendo, but it's kind of smart for them. So ultimately, I want to see them to finally get back to being the big N instead of being the person in the back just going, hey, we still have Mario. Hi.
Yeah.
I want him to be a front runner, and this looks like this year might be it.
might be the year that gets them back on their feet or whatever.
Yeah.
If not number one, but number two, most definitely.
Yeah, but no longer in the back end, just like saying, "Hi, look at us, we're Nintendo." No, we need to see him get back on the right track. But
it's one of those things. Hey, we have waggle controls. Yeah, that's great. No, instead, bring on games that people want to see.
Yeah. So anyway, what I think, if this turns out to be true, but like I said, I'm keeping 50-50 about this, but if this does turn out to be true, then I agree with you guys. This is another good step for Nintendo to get them out of that shtick that they've been in for the past few years. And then it does show that Iwata does really care about trying to, get the company back on the right track and getting them caught up with the times, and they don't want to be that far behind anymore. I mean, they still have a lot of work to, be fully caught up with both Sony and Microsoft, but this is always still a good first step. And some of the games that they have, they do sound exciting on paper, but when you look at some of them realistically, they may not seem like they're going to come out. Could be wishful thinking, but if this does turn out to be true, then this is definitely going to be great, and this is definitely going to be one of the E3s that has me really excited about them ever since 2010 when they had their press conference that has excited a lot of people. But again, I'm going to reserve judgment until E3 2014, but, like I said, if this turns out to be real, then this is going to be awesome. But until then, like I said, it's time to keep a cool head and just have to wait till then.
Right.
But yeah, anyway, that's all we have to say about Nintendo's, our predictions on Nintendo in one of the supposed leaks of their digital event at this year's E3 coming up. But I think now is about time we go ahead and we wrap up part 3 of our Road to E3 series of the Riff Table Arcade. And to sign off, I am Double RPG.
I'm 16-Bit Jeff.
I'm Phoenix or Paul.
Paul Phoenix, like the Tekken character.
And we come full circle.
Hey guys, I wonder if I'll be featured in Pokken.
Oh, wait a minute. Yes, you would, because you'll have Kuma at your side, and he'll be considered a Pokemon now.
Oh,
Jesus.
Oh, God. Yeah, give me that. Yeah, give me that.
Anyway, any plugs that you want to give before we log off, Jeff?
The usual for me is usually you can find me on Twitter at 16bitjeff. I'm still working. Good news is at the start of next month, June, I'm going to start working more on my site, Command Breaks, to look for more updates in regards to that in the near future. But
definitely.
And, of course, this channel as well.
The Game Riffers, right?
Yeah, youtube.com/Game Riffers.
Oh, absolutely. We need to get back to doing projects again at some point.
Oh, definitely.
And we'll definitely have to get you on one of those projects, or multiple numbers of them as well, when we do our own Game Riffers episodes of video games and that kind of stuff. The Let's Plays that we do.
Oh, yeah.
Where we just like to riff on them, if they're good or bad.
Oh, yeah, believe me, I'm all up for that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and Paul, you don't have any plugs for you, do you?
I like to stay out of the digital shadow, as my up-and-coming game of Watch Dogs is going to be playing next week. Other than that, stay tuned, because I cannot wait for next week.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk about the other games.
Absolutely. For me personally, this coming week, I did already release about 4 or 5 Double RPG 2 cents videos, and you can go check them out on my YouTube channel. For my Double RPG Gamer for solo, I have good news. I finally got my 3DS back, the one that had the capture card, and fully repaired, so I'll be back to recording more footage of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney on the DS to do on my weekend series. And I'm still trying to find a perfect time to get back on track with my Wonderful 101 series, but again, with work, it's just I've been working so much, it's been kind of hard to get back into doing a lot of my projects. But, I'll still be doing the 2 cents videos and hopefully getting back on some of the other stuff, but, just have to wait and see what comes from me. So I hope to surprise you all with more content coming from me in the future. But for this week, it's probably going to be me doing less of the 2 cents videos, as I'll probably be doing more at video capturing on the, my Phoenix Wright series or whatever, so be on the lookout for that. Hopefully next weekend when I get back on track. But other than that, that's all I have to say on my end, and we all hope you enjoyed this episode of the Riff Table Arcade, and we'll see you next time for the fourth and final part to our Road to E3, where we talk about some of the third-party games that we are looking forward to at this year's event. Until next time, this is Double RPG signing off, saying Godspeed and Game On Gamers. See you next week. Peace.